poucos segundos. O que é zíper nas costas? É isso, isso também. Isso não podia ficar de fora. É aquilo outro. É tudo isso e muito mais. E claro, tem as lives. É tudo que é de bom. Zíper nas costas. O seu canal Furry com Igor Cebarros. youtube.com/zíper nas costas.
Atenção, operadores, temos uma nova missão. Você vai entrar numa zona de combate com furries e gamers de todo o estado. Missões intensas, cenários urbanos e 4 horas de puro confronto tático. Sem desculpas, sem pausas, só estratégia, adrenalina e bolinhas voando por todos os lados. Tem loadout próprio? Avança. Precisa de armamento? A base fornece tudo. Mas atenção, se vacilar, vai ficar sem vaga.
Olá! Tudo bem com vocês? O Patas esse ano foi incrível. Tivemos muitas atividades como combates medievais ou swordplay, festa na piscina, festa com DJ, uma Fur Parade mágica, muitas entrevistas e um leilão beneficente épico. Ah, você perdeu esse evento? Não se preocupe, ano que vem tem mais.
Procurando uma boa opção para conhecer mais furries? Faça parte do Furry Brasil 2.0 no Discord. Aqui você encontrará bastante gente legal, num ambiente divertido e acolhedor, com eventos regulares e sorteios exclusivos para membros. Estamos esperando por você.
O bot mais crocante do Telegram está de cara nova. Você é um artista procurando por clientes? Ou vai fazer um evento? O Cookbot divulga seus anúncios nos principais grupos de divulgação, encaminha comentários e traduz automaticamente para estrangeiros.
Com o Cookbot, diga adeus a contas falsas e spam entrando no seu grupo. Captcha, filtros e um sistema de denúncias deixam o nosso fandom mais seguro.
Converse, faça memes, pesquise imagens e vídeos. São inúmeras funcionalidades de diversão e utilidades para deixar seu chat mais vivo e saboroso.
Agora com um novo painel de configuração para deixar daquele jeitinho que você quiser. Tá mais fácil que roubar um biscoito do pote.
Mais de 800 chats me usam todos os dias. E você pode usar também. É totalmente de graça. Acesse cookbotfor.net
ou me mande uma mensagem no Telegram em @macw.
A Brasil FurFest apresenta, a partir de agora, ao vivo, direto do Hotel Nacional Inn Jaraguá em São Paulo, Brasil FurFest 2025, Heróis e Vilões.
I decided the first half of this panel, I shall be wearing my fursuit like this. So I can, better speak to you and not get too hot before pictures at the end. So basically this panel is just gonna be me talking about myself for an hour. But I do have pictures, so it won't be that boring. And then, like I said, at the end, I'm gonna have everyone, line up, and then we'll put a nice, pretty background so everyone can get a picture on stage with me in my suit. So it'll have nice lighting, good photos. I guess we should get started. Alrighty, so, like I said, we're just gonna talk about me for an hour. Very exciting. Basically just covering my timeline from when I found Furry to where I am now, essentially. How did I go from a military lady to Furry to now a full-time Furry who has a business, and that's my job now. How neat is that? Yeah, if you don't feel like listening to me for an hour, come back at 4, and then you can just take a picture. Okay, next slide. What I just said, essentially. Next one. Okay, so first off, this is little old me. I think I was either 18 or 19 in these photos. Here, let me stand up. I said I wanted to sit, but now I'm like antsy. I want to move around. Okay, so here, like I said, I joined the Navy when I first got out of high school. I took like 3 months, and I said I didn't really have any plans after high school. I didn't want to go into debt for college. At the time, I was always an artist, but I didn't really find it feasible to be able to make a living as an artist. So I just decided, why not sign my life over to the government for a couple years and get guaranteed free college and a paycheck. Here, you can't see it too well, but I have a lot of garb on. In the Navy, my job was, they call it a PR, but it's an air crew survival equipmentman. So essentially, I dealt with everything survival when it came to pilots. So I was in more of the aircraft division. So I would work on things like packing parachutes, testing oxygen systems for the pilots, as well as running inspections on all their survival gear, making sure that once they leave the air, they're safe, all of their systems work, their oxygen masks, everything from that to life jackets to helmets. And what's cool about my job in the Navy, the reason I picked this, is because they gave me 2 options for the jobs after I took the test. One had something to do, I don't even remember what it was, but this particular job had in the description sewing. So that standed out to me. I was like, sewing is kind of crafty, I guess I'll pick this one. Little did I know that the military was actually gonna teach me how to sew, and it somehow followed me into being a fursuit maker, which is really neat. This picture here, I was graduating my schooling, and I actually did this mural at the schoolhouse in Pensacola, Florida. So if you ever go to Pensacola, Florida, that mural that is on the wall, I painted that. All right, next slide. All right, so first furry interaction to first fursuit. I think I was 19 in this photo here, I was in Florida. I was enlisted, active duty at the time. This picture right here is why I'm here. I think I saw these two on the street. I was out with my friends. It was just like a public bar crawl type deal. And I saw these two right here. And I don't know why, but I was like, I like that. I don't know why, but I want that. I want to be them. And then I got a picture with them. And I always thought that it was really cool because this one here, the jaw moved. And that like blew my mind at the time. I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I remember it was that picture. I started Googling, oh my gosh, it was basically like realistic fursuits or like how to buy a fursuit, how to do this. I ended up on the Mischief Maker page back in 2019. And this is really funny because at the time, a full suit from them was $3,500. Very cheap for today's standards. But at the time, I was broke. I could not afford it. So I let my dream die for a couple of years. And then I went from Florida, traveled all the way across the country, got stationed in California, and that is when I decided I'm just gonna make it. I never made one before. Obviously, I had an artistic background, but as you know, drawing and fursuits are two totally different things. This abomination right here somehow turned into this, but this is the original, my baby. Everyone knows her. She is currently retired because whenever I made her with the cheapest materials possible. I had no idea about materials. I got 99-cent felt for most things. For my paws, after 2 years, they ended up disintegrating into nothing. So now she is retired, and she stays in my closet and watches me work. Fun fact, I haven't worn her since I've made this one because of how uncomfortable she was. I didn't realize that I didn't need 40 pounds of hot glue on the inside. So whenever I had her on, she felt like a rock. It was not comfy. Next one. And then this is my first time public suiting. We got some I was very ignorant. I said, I feel like most people may not want to go to the Hollywood Walk of Fame for their first time suiting, but I thought, why not? So my friend took me out down to Hollywood, and I got dressed in a parking garage. And she took me around the Walk of Fame, and I got some iconic pictures with some pretty Hooters girls. And then Bumblebee, which is funny because I had to pay him $5 to take this picture. And then I was walking around. I don't know if you know much about the Walk of Fame, but you know they have costume performers. A lot of the scary, like Minnie Mouse, the cursed ones, but they want you to pay them to take a photo. A lot of people were trying to give me money for photos, and I was like, no, I don't want money. I'm just here, you know. But yeah, I had to pay $5 for that picture. Next one. All right, first furry convention. This very special place in my heart because I should backtrack a bit. Whenever I made my first fursuit, I knew that there were conventions, I knew there was other furries, but I didn't realize how big the community was. I didn't know really how to find it either. My main draw was I just want this animal costume. So I actually made my animal costume before I found the community. So me making my fursuit is what, like, yeah, usually it's the other way around, right? You get into the community, then you get the fursuit. I flipped it. I made the fursuit first, then found the community. It was very interesting. Everyone was like, who the hell is this? Where did she come from? What is going on? But yeah, BLFC, special place in my heart. I showed up to this convention with no friends. I knew of people. I talked to a few people online. But I showed up. I didn't have any roommates. I went by myself. I drove 8 hours. And I was like, you know what? Send it. And then not even the first maybe 3 hours, I already somehow found a friend group. And I mean, this con is also the con I experienced my first hangover. And I I had so much fun dancing on stage until 4 a.m. in my suit. And then I woke up the next day with the first hangover, and I called my friend. I was like, I think I'm dying. Like, I've never experienced this. Like, I was just in bed, like, I was like, can you please bring me food and water? They saved me. They saved me. But yeah, I wouldn't trade it for the world. You see some of the older, mischief makers. We got Kai and Rivolo. They're still close friends of mine. They're very sweet. Next slide. Here we go. I got to talk about this. Everyone knows we got to talk about this. I don't know if you can see this here, but if you have Snapchat, you know how they have like an explore page where they'll have just brain rot, essentially. I was on the brain rot page. So this whole meme came from, there was a UK small, journalism. They asked me for an interview, and it was very wholesome. They asked me good questions. They weren't the typical, is that a sex thing? They didn't do that, right? It was very good. But the interview that was posted by the UK, the Daily Mail decided, I'm going to make an article out of the interview. So I did not approve of this. This was against my will. But I showed up to work. Everyone's staring at me. Everyone's staring at me. And I'm getting messages from people back home. I'm getting messages from my friend. Did you see what's on the blah, blah, blah? Did you see this is on Snapchat? I was like, no, what is it? And I was terrified. And I walk in and my higher ups, all I had to do was make eye contact. And we made eye contact and we went straight to the office. So I didn't get in too much trouble. All my Navy friends, especially the ones I worked directly with, I was very open. I never hid the fact that I was a furry. I was just yeah, I do this weird thing. And everyone was like, cool. But there was a few higher-ups that I didn't work directly with that got a little angry, maybe. I didn't get in too much trouble. I was like, listen, it wasn't my fault. I didn't know. I didn't do it. It wasn't me. But yeah, this is the first time I think I experienced virality, right? And not just furry virality, but world virality, which is pretty crazy. Because, I had this here, this article was on Snapchat, and then you go to the next news thing, and it's Kim Kardashian does this. And it's just oh, I guess this is my life now. But this blew up, and this became a meme. And now I accept it, and everyone loves it, and I post it every Veterans Day. That's my memory. And I recently made this one, because every time, I actually haven't heard this here. Usually at U.S. cons, if I'm walking around in fursuit, I hear, not the Navy, 40 million times. Next slide. All right, the fursuit maker journey. So I bet a lot of you didn't know, but this is actually my second fursuit I made. It kind of got lost into the void. They don't really post. I don't know where it's at, but I hope it's in a loving home, That was my first commission ever. It was a Finnick Fox, and just from, my 1.0, learning about higher quality materials, this one had all the bells and whistles, all the sewn seams. I didn't just glue things together. I actually kind of understood how to do things better. The quality improvement here, you can see this is my 1.0. This is her ear. Like I said, I sewed the colors together, but you can see up there, I straight up just glued it on, did not stitch anything together. And then this is an example of her ears. So everything's nice and sewn. You can dig your hands in there and you're not going to feel foam. So, yeah, I improved a lot very quickly. I learned a lot from that first one. And then, after I got out of the military, I decided to full send with being a full-time fursuit maker, artist. It was very rough the first almost 3 years. The first year, I didn't really work too much because I was like, oh, I just got out of the Navy. I'd been working for 4 years. I'm going to take it easy. That was kind of a mistake because not only did I go through my savings, I also did not set myself up to, get my business going the way I should have. But my first 2 years of business was very rough financially. I think a lot of people, it's very exciting to be like, oh, I get to be a full-time fursuit maker, but it's not all glamorous as it seems. You have to deal with the business side. You have to deal with working with clients, organizing your own schedule, which I think that's one of the biggest struggles for me is coming out of the military, I was being told what to do 24/7. I didn't have to think about it. I knew what I was doing because they would just tell me. Now, I'm responsible for myself. No one's telling me what to do, so I could just sit in my room all day playing video games instead of working, but then I won't make money. But sometimes I wish I had a manager to crack down, get to work. I miss that, honestly. But here's the OGs, the babies, and then the 2.0s. Just an example of, I didn't make Booker, he's a mischief maker, an older one. But that's just an example of what I did then, what I can do now. And then I wanted to show off my commissions because I feel like no one really knows or sees them often. So this one was my second commission ever. Third commission ever, and first full suit commission. It was the first time I opened for a custom full suit. He won the auction, and it was very exciting. It was really awesome. I was a bit worried about his character because the reference sheet he sent me, I was like, this character, I don't know if this fits my style well, but luckily I have had really good clients, and whenever you commission me, I'm more or less of take your character and adjust it to where it would look best in a 3D version of itself. Because shapes translate differently from 2D art to a 3D costume, right? So he let me work some magic on him, and I like this one. I like to call him either the Google Chrome dog, which is good, or some people were calling him Burger King. He's just he was actually, his character's after a pair of Jordan shoes. I don't know, he's a shoe dog. But, yeah. And then this guy, he's one of my favorites as well. I, unfortunately, have not seen him since I sent him to the customer. I don't really know if he wears it. I even offered to buy it back because I didn't see it. I was worried they didn't like it. I was worried maybe they didn't want to wear it anymore, or maybe they weren't a furry. But they were like, no, I love it. I just don't wear it often. I'm like, okay. But yeah, I love this guy. He's a wolf mixed with a raccoon. His little tail, so cute. And I learned how to make multiple toes. He has so many toes. Next one. And this is my most recent one. This is the second girl suit I've ever made. Well, girl character, I should say. Because the past two I made Booker, Alexi, and Renton, all boys. I was like, I'm tired of making these boys. I'm ready for some cute girls. So this one was a very big labor of love. This particular client had been a Patreon of mine ever since I started Patreon, so when I was still in the military and everything, and I actually designed this character as well. So I designed this character, and then about 4 years later, she comes back to me and says, let's make it a full suit. So I got to deliver her this year earlier in April, and now this client actually wears it. It's so nice. I get to see pictures of her running around being silly. I might be biased to my clients that actually wear them now, That kind of helps with advertising instead of being closet suits. But yeah, I love her. She's very cute. I'm sorry, I'm staring at it. I just genuinely, just the connection that I've had with this character and the person inside of it, it means a lot to me. Okay, next one. And the merch journey. So, I always wanted to sell merch, right? but it's a very daunting process. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. I started off small with beanies. Beanies are the cheapest to get made. You know, because merchandising is pretty expensive to do, especially with the fancy shirts and the rhinestones. You really need to have an audience first before you can start selling things. But I would say Glitzy Fox. Do you all know who she is? Glitzy Fox, I assume, the prettiest girl furries ever. She was a wonderful mentor to me whenever I got into vending. She kind of helped me, you know, learn how to do the setups, learn how to source merchandise, like how to really, you know, make this. Because making a table setup, that's probably the hardest thing I had to learn. Like, there's so much that goes into table setups and making them look nice. But the bimbo puppy, right? Let me tell you, this was something that blew up I did not expect. I did not expect it to go as crazy as it did. And then I also thought people would get tired of it. And that is not the case. They want more. I'm like, I figured that everyone that's a bimbo puppy has one by now. But no, they want it in this color. They want this color. They want this color. It's just very awesome. It was actually, I made this idea 3 a.m. high thought. That's what that was. And it just turned into something incredible. And that's the rhinestone crop tops is what really boosted everything into merchandise. So now I'm starting to get with the jogger sets, super complicated, you know, a 2-piece garment. I design all the clothes on my iPad, so I make mock-ups of it. I send it to a supplier, and then we go back and forth for months talking about the fabrics, the embroidery, what colors they need to be, and not just, it's not as simple as you send them this and they make this. It's more like you send them a picture of this and then you put notes and have the Pantone colors for every single color that's in it. You need to have all of the measurements for how big you want this art, how small you want this art, where you want it to be placed. It's very particular. So a lot of communication involved. And then I wanted to show these off. These are coming out soon. My first pair of jeans, cargo pants. They are acid wash with embroidered details. They got big tons of pockets. Big pockets with paws on them. And then I don't have a picture of the shirt, but I wanted to try out a more alternative since I'm so used to doing the pink and cute. So I wanted to give my more alternative girlies something that they could wear. All right, next one. This one is my message to you all to never stop practicing, because 2018, this is my first furry digital art, I would say. It's okay. It's decent. But, you know, now look where I am. I didn't used to be confident as an artist, but now, I mean, I can just draw a furry up like it's nothing, and it's so fun. Art used to be a bit stressful for me because I couldn't get it to look right, but now it just comes so easily because I've been doing it for so long. So please don't give up if this is proof at all. And then these are some character designs that are the most recent I've done. These are my favorite things to do. I love character design. I made this one here is very nice because, do you know what an esthetician is? Does anyone know what that is? It's basically like a hairstylist for your skin. So they do like fancy facials, they make sure your skin is nice, they give you nice products. My esthetician, you know, everyone, you sit down in a chair, what do you do for work? So I'm like, here we go. I got to explain the whole thing, what a furry is, what's going on. I explained this all to him. He's a little too interested. He ends up saying, you know what, because we do have a local furry event that is pretty cool. And I said, well, you know, you should come out, just see how it is. He goes to his first furry event. He's locked in. That's all it took. That's all it took. He was like, you know what? I get it now. I want to do this. And I was like, okay. So I designed this character for him with all his favorite things. He loves fashion and shoes. nerdy things, as we all do. And this one was also for a good friend. But character design is just my favorite. I kind of just wanted to show them off. Okay. And then this one is also just art progression, icons I've done. You know, the art that I am proud of, I would say, nowadays. It's just nice. I love drawing furries now, and all the time. They're great. Okay. I think... Yay! It's time for photos! I'm finally done yapping. Okay, so I figure I get to show you how I put my fursuit on, because that's so fun. Here we go. What's funny is I kind of picked Aurora Bloom and stuck with it. And I thought about that after, you know, I started getting like that became my business name. I was like, did I really want that name? But now I'm stuck with it, you know. But I like it. Because originally I wanted my theme to be around flowers, but I kind of outgrew it, so now it's just my name. It's an iconic name. Yeah. I can't just change my name now because it's too iconic. Hello. Now I can talk. I have an assistant. Any more questions?
Hello.
Okay. Did you ask why I picked the species I picked, or? Oh, good question. She's husky, but as cringe as it is, I am 1/4 wolf. I model. It's very important to my character. I figure that she is a husky. I like huskies because of the energy. You know, they're very energetic. I love the curl. It gives so much movement. It's very cute, bouncy. But I actually came up with her design from one of my friend's childhood dogs. She was a husky mixed with a wolf, and her name was Aurora. So whenever I first started making my fursuit, I actually wanted to make her a cat. So when I first started making it, she was supposed to be a cat, and then she ended up looking like a dog because I didn't know what I was doing, so I changed the species fully, and I was like, yeah. Yeah, I didn't even have a reference sheet when I made it. I just kind of put it together and made the reference sheet after. Yes, I failed successfully. That's a really good question. Essentially, the question was, you need an audience to sell merch, but how do you build the audience, right? Building the audience is, I would say, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and consistency. So if you're looking to build an audience online, you really need to focus on, first, what you like to do, what you like doing, because I think that if you go into making content or building an audience with like, that's your goal, it makes sense that it's a goal, right? But it's like you want to do something that you love because people can see passion behind you. You know, like a lot of content creators, they may not, the content is good, but it's like if there's no heart behind it and you don't connect with those people, they're usually not gonna be interested in buying things from you. I would say, like I said, first start out with something you enjoy doing, something also that fills a niche. So for me, my niche was, at the time, there wasn't a lot of feminine furry clothing. You know, I would go to conventions, I couldn't find clothes that I would want to wear as a woman, you know? So that's why I started making the feminine merch. And now I see a lot more of it, so it's really cool. So hopefully that answers your question. All the way in the back. What? I haven't received any physical hate mail, like in the mail, but that would be kind of cool versus, I would rather get a physical letter than a stupid ass comment, to be honest. I have gotten hate online. I like to say it is like, it's online. Like, you're never gonna see these people, you're never gonna meet these people. Realistically, they don't matter. The only thing that matters is the people that you surround yourself with. Because personally, I struggled when I first got online and I was building an audience. I didn't really understand like how intrusive people could be. You know, they're assuming things about you, they're judging you, they're doing all of this, and it's very vulnerable to be like that on the internet. There was a point where I was just getting harassed constantly, and it really turned me away from because my main platform is Instagram, so I was a bit turned off of it for a while. But it was after I kind of like took a step back, I realized that, you know, because I hate to say this, but it's like, I want people to like me, you know? Everyone wants people to like them, but the reality of it is, and what I had to accept is not everyone will like you. And they may try to make you feel bad for doing whatever you want, but hey, there's a block button for a reason. If you block them, like I said, you're never gonna see these people in person. I have never had any hate or any issues if I am touching grass and being a real person in the world, you know? The only hate I get is online, and those people don't matter, really.
Any more questions?
How expensive was my fursuit to make? I should have kept the receipts so I could give a better answer, but I would say, all things considered, in just materials, so like fur, thread, fabrics, probably like $800. Because, you know, the nice fabrics that last a while are so expensive. Huh? Well, yeah. Well, usually, you know, my labor is free, so that's not too bad. The materials cost a lot, but it's mainly what you're paying for is those hours of work.
Any more questions?
Let's see, I made my first suit. I think I finished the head late 2017, and then I really got into the community spring of 2018. So math, how many years is that? 7? Ay, that's so long. It makes me feel old. I guess 7 years then, I guess. That's crazy. 25? That's gonna be me. I'm here forever. You're stuck with me.
Any more questions?
Oh, how you deal with clients that might be a little pushy or hard to deal with? That's a good question, because I luckily have had angel clients. I got the type of clients to where they just give me the money and they say, make this beautiful thing. They have no idea what's going on otherwise. Got fur in my mouth. But it can be very tricky because, you don't want to offend them, but you also don't want to get pushed around either. So what I would recommend is really just respectfully saying, hey, this is my terms. If you don't follow them, then that's up to you. If you have someone that's being pushy or asking for way too much or being like, hey, can you add this extra thing for free? No, tell them no. You can be nice while setting boundaries, but I really recommend on not giving too much. Because it's like some people, if you give them an inch, they take a mile. Yeah, so that can be tough. I wish I had a better answer because, is it 4? Okay.
Any more questions?
Oh my gosh, yes! Oh, am I enjoying Brazil? Yeah, you guys have no idea. I wanted to talk about that real quick, actually. Not only am I, God, it's very surreal to be here. Even though I was in the military, I never traveled out of the United States before. So this is my first time, not only in Brazil, but the first time out of the United States in general. So it's been such an experience, and I am so grateful to be here. And I know that guests of honors are supposed to be treated like royalty, right? But, I mean, they really do treated me like a queen. It's crazy. I love it. The whole staff, so helpful. I have 2 little minions that help me run around. I have 2 minions to grab me water and, do all the things. I had a fun experience. On Thursday, I got to explore the Japanese area, the really big one. It was very fun, very crowded. I saw so many knockoff Labubus. They were so cute, to be honest. I kind of like the knockoff ones more because they're so cursed. I've ate so much food. I'm so full, but I just keep putting it in my mouth. I think I'm up to 10 caparinas. I hope to get up to 20 by tonight. But it's been awesome here in Brazil because obviously I don't speak Portuguese. All I know is obrigada. I don't have much to offer when it comes to communication. However, whenever we have been going out and I've been going out and getting coffee and stuff like this, even if we can't communicate that well, the locals have been so helpful and wanting to communicate, sometimes they'll even come up and try to, speak with us, and I really appreciate that. Everyone's just so welcoming. And not only that, getting to meet everyone, it's just so neat. I didn't realize how big of a fan base I had in Brazil. They said, the Brazilians love you. Okay, now it is time. I must get into my puppy. Here's a little hack for you if you have long hair. You braid it, and you tuck it in. I tuck it in my bra strap. I guess if you don't have a bra, you're kind of screwed. But I tuck it in here, put the Under Armour over it, and then it stays relatively out of the way. So it won't get too, if I don't do that, it turns out into a matted mess. So I have a weird way of getting into my suit because, as you can tell, my paws are attached. So I actually put my head on, and then I get the rest on. She's not a suit I can get into by myself because she has a back zipper. But the look of fully attached parts is just too good. And I was like, I'll suffer for the look, you know? Is this a look? Okay, I need minion assistance. It's a very backwards way of putting on a fursuit. But whenever you got a whole onesie, that's just how it got to be done. Let me not knock this over. Oh, it's fine. I do crazy stuff in this. Are we in?
Yes.
I'm in! This is for all the fans out there. You ready?
Oh, this bitch. I want to record it.
I love the tail wag.
Please.
I didn't stretch before this, about pulled a hammy.
What do you need help with? Sorry? Okay, pictures. Okay, may I use the microphone?
Can you move this?
Ok, oi, com licença. Pessoal, ela está falando que quem quiser tirar foto com ela pode vir aqui de maneira ordenada, por favor. Lembrando que a gente ainda tem outro painel depois desse, então a gente não pode ficar demorando. Obrigado.
Would
Of course, of course. Minions get first pick.
Pessoal, conforme vocês forem subindo aqui no palco para tirar foto, nessa mesa que está aqui atrás de mim, tem essas stickers ou figurinhas aqui da Aurora. Cada um pode pegar um, ok? Tem 3 tipos diferentes. Peguem cada um para sobrar para todo mundo. Obrigado.